You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day, because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV, just about any vehicle. It's true. Bad credit doesn't matter. No credit doesn't matter. Bankruptcy or divorce, it just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, your job is your ticket to your new vehicle. We're Auto Credit Express, and we've helped thousands of people just like you. Antonio H. told us, great company, got me connected, and the day I went in, I drove off in the car I wanted. 100% worth your time. Need a car? Get started now and drive off as early as today. Just text FINANCE, FINANCE, to 357-911 right now to get started. That's FINANCE, FINANCE, to 357-911. Auto financing the easy way. Text FINANCE to 357-911.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your health care? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their health care. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your health care, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your health care while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
At St. Jude, a family never sees a bill at all. It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures. Saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It's takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
I take a breath, I'm not gonna lose. This is what I came here to do.
Keep on doing what you do, Rick. You're my favorite host. Favorite host.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
Good evening, America. Welcome to the program. I am Rick Robinson. We are live right now on KLRNradio.com, where liberty and reason still reign. It is Tuesday, January 29th, 2019, and boy, oh boy, do we have a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. So, Chucky Schumer seems to be trying to give a little bit of a schoolhouse rock lesson to the president, and that seems to be backfiring. That's what we're going to start with tonight. So, Chucky Schumer, glasses down on the nose, looking pretty stern, pointing the finger. Mr. Trump, I hope you've learned your lesson. Mr. Trump, this shutdown cost the American people $11 billion, $3 billion of which we're never getting back. Do not shut down the government again. So what you're saying is, Mr. Schumer, you failed to do the math before you threw a temper tantrum and held the country hostage because the president was only asking for $5.7 billion to make the country safer. Now, I know to you and me, $5.7 billion is a lot of money, but let's put this in a perspective that you and I can understand, and we talked about this on this show before. This would be like a family of four that makes $60,000 a year arguing about where they're going to spend $100 on a vacation. That's what this boils down to. So to the point of where they're arguing about where they're going to spend $100 on a vacation, they wind up spending over $200 in the argument to figure out where they were going to spend the $100. Because, money was too tight to justify spending the $100, so we're not going to spend it, but by the time we're done, because of all the arguing and the fussing and the fighting, we've actually spent double the money that we were fighting over in the first place, some of which we're never going to see again because we can't get that money back. So just, let's do some math. I know math is not the Democrats' funnest thing, because, they're of the whole Common Core idea of, 2 + 2 is fish, which you can make into a valid argument if you want to, but that's not the actual answer. Neither was this, because you cost us double the amount, and some of it, almost 2/3 of the amount that you were arguing with over in the first place, is now permanently lost revenue for the government of the United States of America. Because, the thing, guys, look, again, the thing that has me the most pissed off about this is not that, we want the symbol of the United States of America to remain the Statue of Liberty. These are the same people that voted for all these different wall sections that are already in place along the southern border. I mean, Donald Trump has gone from An idea that honestly scared the crap out of me. A solid concrete 10-foot wall, then every time the Democrats voted no, it was supposed to get 10 feet higher. To now he's listening to the people on the front lines that are doing this job every day. They're like, Mr. President, this will actually help us in this one section. This is where we desperately need this. And the Democrats are still like, no, because it's Donald, no. And then Chucky Schumer, trying to school the president, basically makes himself look even more like a moron, because now it's like, well, you cost us $11 billion because you shut down the government. But he told you he was going to do it if you didn't give him the $5.7 billion. So if you knew that it was going to cost us more, why didn't you just say, okay, we'll find a way to get this money from somewhere else? Here's an idea. You guys put together an aid package for other countries for $30 billion. Why didn't you shave it down to 24 and say, here you go, Mr. President, here's your money for the wall. We'll just cut back. We'll just, maybe Iran doesn't get a pallet full of cash this time like they did under Obama. Oh, wait, I forgot. The American people weren't supposed to know about that. Well, guess what? We do. You guys waste money hand over fist day after day after day after day. And you keep coming to us because you want more. Now we have AOC talking about a 70% tax rate. Now I want to put, because to the left, this makes it all better, because this is what would be considered a progressive tax rate. So they only want a 70% tax rate on people that make $10 million a year or more. So the 70% tax rate will only kick in once you pass $10,001,001. But after you've made that first $10 million, then they get 70% of every dollar you make thereafter. Because, after $10 million, who the hell cares? You've got enough money. See, that's part of that is something that has drastically changed in this country. And this is a narrative I haven't put out in a while, so we're going to go over it again. Because this argument that AOC is making, where she's now, talking in articles about how she feels that the founding fathers were on her side when it comes to billionaires and how they waste their money and all these different things. This is highlighting a fundamental shift in this country, because there used to be a time in this country, and again, this is just kind of a narration of an idea, where a father and son were walking down the street and someone in a really nice car drives by. The father looks down at the son, sees him pointing at the nice car with a gleam in his eye and a huge smile, and the father looks at the son and says, "Son, this is America. In this country, you like that car, right? I see the smile on your face. You're pointing at it. You're all excited. So you like that car, right? Well, yeah, Dad, it's awesome. Well, this is America, son. If you work hard enough, then someday you can actually have a car just like that." And the son would be encouraged, and the father and the son would walk off hand in hand, and the son would be thinking of ways that he could find ways to make money to have a car like that someday. And that's how things used to be. We would look at the things that other people had, like the idea that I believe it was Senator Teepee put out about the whole idea of, well, this person spent $100 billion on a yacht that has an IMAX theater inside of it. I'm pretty sure they have enough money. But what about the people that worked to build that yacht? What if there's no longer anybody that can afford those because of your tax rates? So how many people are you putting out of business because of your tax rates? When it gets to the point where you've made so much money that now they're taking everything but 30% of everything you bring in, what is that going to do to businesses? These are the things that Democrats and the people that are progressives that want socialism don't think about. But they've been winning this war from the ground up because they've been dividing us. They've hyphenated everything in this country. You can't just be an American anymore. You're now a Native American. You're an African American. You're an Irish American. You're an Indian American if you're from the actual country India. There's all these hyphens. And now there's class warfare, because we didn't used to have classes in this country. There was no such thing as lower class, middle class, and upper class. Now there's lower class, lower middle class, lower upper class, or upper lower class, lower middle class, middle class, upper middle class. lower high class, middle high class, high class, upper high class. Now we've gone from designations that didn't exist to 3 separate designations to now 9 separate designations. I feel like we're talking about genders. We went from 2 to God knows how many. Because we started labeling every little thing, because everything has to fit in a nice, neat box, and it has to be able to be labeled, and it's all about so-called inclusiveness. But this is what happens when you start separating people. They stop becoming people, and they start becoming the us versus the them. That's where they have us in this country. We spend every single day, and I do it too, so please don't think that I'm singling anybody out, because there are times when I have to catch myself doing it too, because I have been indoctrinated just like everyone else. When I hear about somebody that, won the lottery or won the Publishers Clearinghouse, or they bought a nice new Ferrari, and I'm looking at it and I'm having the same thought, and it's not, well, someday if I work hard enough I can afford something like that. It's, damn it, that's not fair. Why don't I have a Ferrari? And that's what's happened. That's what they've gotten to change. Because now it's not about, can I work hard enough to get there? It's, how can I pull them down off of that pedestal that I have them sitting on because they have things better than I do. Here's the thing that nobody understands. And I'm here to tell you this as somebody who's been to the point where I've made 4 figures a year to 7 figures a year. Never got to the point where I was making 8 figures a year, but I have made 7 figures in a year. And I need you to understand. I'm sorry, 6 figures in a year. I've never gotten to the point where I've made 7, but I have made 6 figures in a year. I need you to understand that no matter whether I was making 4 figures a year to 6 figures a year, nothing really changed for me. Things still felt the same. I was just as stressed out, because at the end of the day, when I was making more money, it meant I was spending more money. So for all of you that think just because you have more money, things are going to be easier, I will admit certain things were easier. It was nice to have money in the bank so I could just set things on auto pay and then not have to worry about them. I'm not able to do that anymore, because I'm living paycheck to paycheck, and I'm investing in new things, and I'm trying to get things off the ground. So I'm spending money pretty much every single day right now, trying to get things to get to the point where I need them to be. So I don't have that cushion anymore. So that I do miss. But other than that, everything's about the same. I'm still just as stressed out, still just as much involved in the hustle. But at the end of the day, I spend about 8 hours a day doing other people's work, and then I spend about another 8 hours a day doing the things that I love to do. And then sometimes even a little bit more than that. I actually had a Twitter discussion with somebody today who called out a friend and somebody that I consider a sister, Stacey Lennox. You may know from The Resurgent. Also, she's on the Loftus Party podcast and will be returning here on KLRN Radio starting Sunday, February 10th, with her co-host JD with Game On with JD and Stacey. This person, for some reason, who's followed and interacted with both of us for now quite some time, has taken it upon themselves to start calling us sellouts, because we now have name recognition and we're not pushing for the right things. Because somehow we're now involved in the conservative media cartel, and supposedly we're making money hand over fist, and we're selling our souls to be able to keep that money coming in. I'm not going to speak for Stacey, but I can damn well tell you that most of what I make right now off of anything that I do that's radio related gets invested right back into KLRN Radio Inc. Because at some point I want to make this thing self-sufficient. I'm not doing this to get rich. I'm not doing this because I want to be famous. I'm doing it because this country is broken, and somebody has to call attention to how broken this country is. And if you do not believe that this country is broken, then I want you to seriously take a long, hard look at this abortion bill that just got passed in the state of New York. And I don't mean just look at the news reports and give it a cursory glance. I mean actually read the bill, because this thing is terrifying. To the point where I never thought in my lifetime we would get to this point. And that is not hyperbole. That is not me trying to get you ginned up. That is me being completely honest with you. I did not think we would get to the point where somebody can say, I have a hangnail, and because of that, I don't want to have this kid. and that be enough of an excuse, because that's basically what they've had happen. All right, so we're really, really long on this segment, and I'm nowhere near done with what I wanted to talk about. So instead of continuing to go long on the break, we are going to take a really quick break. When we come back, we're going to keep talking about all of this, because it all ties together, and it simply is the fact that we really need to come to terms with where we want to be in this country and who we want to be in this country. And I think we've lost track. This is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson. We'll be back in about 3 minutes. Don't go away. Whether we realize it or not, everyone has been impacted by addiction. We all have family members, we all have friends that have faced this demon. But there's hope. There's hope in recovery. There's hope when we work together to rise above the plight of addiction. I'd like you to join Mac Mullings every Saturday from 2 to 4 p.m. on Rise Above Radio on KOKC 1520 AM, where they talk about the hope that is available to all of us.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
Welcome back, folks. This is America Off the Rails. I am your host, Rick Robinson, and we are live right now, right here on KLRNradio.com. Typically, we do this thing every Monday through Thursday, but we have kind of a split schedule, so it's a little bit weird. Usually on Mondays and Wednesdays, we're live at 10 p.m. Eastern. Typically on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we are live at 9 p.m. Eastern. However, for tonight, We moved everything back to the old homestead. We used to do the show at 11 p.m. Eastern, and that's pretty close to where we started tonight. Actually, we started even later than usual, mainly because I've been doing a lot of behind-the-scenes work. So a couple things to go over real quick for those, because I know some of you only listen to this show. I don't know why you don't listen to the others that we do. Doesn't really hurt my feelings that much, but it kind of does a little. But anyway, for those of you that really just enjoy this show, first of all, I'm mainly being smart. I really do like the fact that you guys tune in and listen. The fact that you listen at all, and so many of you do on a regular basis, is absolutely amazing to me. But we have a lot of things that are in the works right now. So for those of you who may not know, JD and Stacy are bringing Game On back to KLRN Radio. They're coming home starting February 10th. We have a new show coming over from Alcon Radio. Di and Jody used to do a show called Red Wine. They're bringing that over here. That's launching Friday, February the 8th. And tomorrow night, in the Conservative Curmudgeons time slot, once a month, G has graciously elected to give up his time slot so that we could do a show together. We are now launching a show that we kind of feel is important, because in today's age, it seems like it's now basically against social norms to be masculine. And everything's referred to as toxic masculinity now, and it's all bad. So we're actually launching a show to talk about that and to kind of make fun of it. And as the biggest jab of all, we're actually calling the show Toxic Masculinity. So that will air tomorrow at 8 Eastern. So tomorrow night, we have a stellar lineup. You have the night kicked off with me, Ordy, Angie, all on Toxic Masculinity. We then roll over to Fubar with Sam and Ordy, and I'll, of course, be behind the board on that one more than talking. And then, of course, I will finish out your night with America Off the Rails. Tomorrow night on America Off the Rails, we actually have Chad Alexander from KOKC 1520 AM and 95.3 FM here in the Oklahoma City Metro. Will be joining me tomorrow night to talk about some of this recent shutdown stuff. And we even have next Tuesday night, February 5th, right after the State of the Union address, we'll be putting on our annual KLRN Radio State of the Union Roundtable, and Chad Alexander's actually penciled in as possibly joining us for that as well. So we have a lot of things that are going on, and I'll be putting in some late nights, burning the candle at pretty much every end possible for the next few weeks, but it'll be well worth it by the time it's all said and done, because everything that we do here, we do because we love every single one of you that take time out of your day to spend time with us, and we want to make it harder and harder and harder for you to leave us alone, and make it where you always want to come back and hang out with us. So I'm doing everything I can to get as much fresh content here every single day. And eventually, we're going to get back to the point where KLRN Radio is a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week, fresh content, live streaming internet radio station that is never off. We're working on all of that right now. So stay tuned. Lots of things in the works. I actually have our resident web designer actually got his keys to the back door last night, so we're going to start reworking some things on a test site, get things revamped and work the way we want them to work, and we're just gonna go full bore at this point. We're going to do everything we can to make sure 2019 and 2020 are our years, because this is the time that elections are going to be starting to ramp back up again, and this is the perfect time for us to be taking a running start at becoming everybody's home network for election coverages, and that is the plan here on KLRNradio.com. All right, so enough of my president/programming director mumbo-jumbo talky schmacky, because nobody really cares about the shop talk. But me, I get excited about that stuff. One of my former bosses at K98 Talk used to get really, really mad at me when I would go into the details of what we were doing behind the scenes. He's like, nobody cares. I'm like, yeah, they do. More people care about that, honestly, I think, because it gives them an idea of what it is that we're trying to do and why. So, now that I'm in charge, I talk about what I want. Don't like it? Go somewhere else. Just kidding. All right, so we're going to go ahead and take the top of the hour break, only because we're trying to get things a little bit back on track here, and I was really long on that last segment. So this is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson. We'll be back. I can't believe we're already halfway through. There's still so much more to talk about. Sometimes an hour is just not enough. We'll be right back. We're going to I really like that bumper. Sam's probably going to be mad at me because I jacked it because it's one that they like to use, but I really, really like this bumper, so we're using it again. We'll be right back. Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your health care? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their health care. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your health care, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your health care while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
Whether we realize it or not, everyone has been impacted by addiction. We all have family members, we all have friends that have faced this demon. But there's hope. There's hope in recovery. There's hope when we work together to rise above the plight of addiction. I'd like you to join Mac Mullings every Saturday from 2 to 4 p.m. on Rise Above Radio on KOKC 1520 AM, where they talk about the hope that is available to all of us. Welcome back to the program, folks. This is Rick Robinson. This is America Off the Rails, and we're live right now on KLRN Radio. All right, so remember a few short months ago when I kept telling everybody that if the Democrats ever got their chance to get back in power, even if it was somewhere, like the House, that we were going to be in deep crap? Everybody was like, I think you're exaggerating, Rick. You don't know what you're talking about. So this is from Investors Business Daily. The media has already started a drumbeat in favor of the first major legislation proposed by the new Democratic Congress, the so-called For the People Act of 2019. This is, in fact, a dangerous piece of legislation, and that, if enacted, would end American democracy as it has existed for over 240 years. That's not an exaggeration. Far-left media advocates of the Democrats have benignly called the proposed new law election reform, claiming it could save American democracy and characterizing it as a sweeping anti-corruption proposal, but it is, in actuality, none of those things. Instead, H.R. 1, the new law's official designation, is a shocking power grab on the part of the Democrats who seek to nationalize all elections so they can permanently silence the red states that stand in their way. It does so by transferring most of the power over elections to the federal government and taking it away from the states as the Constitution requires. In essence, people like House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, the prime backer of this awful bill, would now be supervising all of our elections to our detriment. Is this an unconstitutional law? As Breitbart rightly noted, the Democrats' bill violates the First Amendment. It restricts political speech and election activities in several ways that the U.S. Supreme Court has made crystal clear that does violate the Constitution, such as groups pulling resources to take out ads on issues those groups advocate. Pelosi's legislation, in a massive federal power grab away from the states, because the Constitution gives primary power authority to the sovereignty of states to conduct elections, this bill instead empowers the federal government to micromanage elections by requiring states to get pre-clearance from Washington, D.C. before changing their election procedures. Did that make sense to those of you listening? Because it's absolutely terrifying to me. We now have it does. So we're talking about a violation of the First Amendment, but we would be talking about a violation of the 10th Amendment, because this basically strips state sovereignty away. Because states have the ability to decide how they are going to run their own elections. The federal government is talking about taking that ability away from them. Nobody's talking about this, though. This is the first I've heard of it, which is why we're talking about it now, because these are the things that nobody's talking about. This is exactly what I told you was going to happen if we were dumb enough to start letting the pendulum swing back the other way. Because the Democrats at this point are so power crazed that now that they have control of the purse strings and they have the ability to try to pass these bills, they're going to do everything they can to try to jerry-rig the entire system to make sure that we can't do the things that we need to do to make sure that we have actual checks and balances against this craziness. And that's what they're talking about doing. This goes hand in hand with their now idea to remove the Electoral College. This would be another way to basically make it where flyover states don't matter, because the only people that obviously matter in this country are the coastal elites. They don't care about us. This law would make it possible for that to happen. Now, thank God, I don't see any way for it to pass the Senate, and even if it were to get to the president's desk, I seriously doubt he would sign it, but who knows? But it doesn't change the fact that they're completely ripping the mask off at this point, and we're still voting for these people. I mean, my God, New York just passed a bill into law that lets them basically rip a child out of the womb up to the day that they're being born. Ocasio-Cortez is talking about a 70% tax rate on anybody that makes more than $10 million a year. You know, France tried that. All the millionaires left. What do they think is going to happen here? They're going to leave. They're going to find ways to put their money offshore. All of these things that Donald Trump has done to get money to actually come flowing back into the country are trying to be undone by the Democrats. You need to ask yourself why that is. Because every day growing up, because my dad was a Democrat pretty much every day of my life until about 10 years ago, I kept hearing how the Democrats were for the working man. The Democrats cared about blue-collar Americans. The Democrats were the ones that actually cared about the poor people. I heard that every day of my life. You tell me what about these things that the Democrats are trying to put in place right now proves to you that they give a damn about me and you. Because we're trying to get those mean old rich people to pay their fair share. Do you realize that? And again, this is a really old analogy, but it still serves to prove the point. If we looked at this as if we were sitting around a table and everybody was divvying up the bill, the guy that was making the most money at the table would already be paying 65% of the tab. So let's say there's a $20 bill. That means that the guy that's making the most of the money is going to be picking up about $15, $16 of that, maybe a little bit more. And then there's 5 other people at the table who've got to pay the other 4. So what happens when the guy that's having to pay the lion's share of that bill says, screw you guys, I'm going to another restaurant. You split the bill amongst yourselves. So then there's 4 other people that now have to pay the $20 bill. So instead of having to come up with maybe a few pennies short of $1 a piece, now they've got to find a way to come up with $5 a piece just to get them back to where they started from. Because the problem of the idea that we're only going to go after the rich is the football, to use the Charlie Brown Lucy analogy of who the rich people are, keeps being moved. Because first it's, well, if they make $10 million a year, more than $10 million a year, then after that first $10 million, they shouldn't care how much we tax the rest of it. Well, then what happens when those people leave? Then it's if you make more than $5 million a year, we're going to tax everything above that at 70%. So then those people leave. And then it's, well, if you make more than $1 million a year, then we're going to tax everything that you make above that at 70%. I'll say, okay, so great. So what happens when those people leave? Well, then if you're making $850,000 a year, after that, that's more than enough for you. So we're going to tax anything above $850,000 a year at a 70% tax rate. Never mind the fact that I was basically already sitting at nearly a 50% tax rate by the time you put in state taxes, local taxes, federal taxes. So they were already getting almost half of everything that I make. So after $850,000 worth, now they're going to kick that up by another 20% at the federal level. So if you're taking what was in essence a federal tax rate of 26%, upping that to a 70% tax rate, and then you take the rest of the taxes that are already on top of it, they're getting to keep maybe 15% of everything they make over that certain dollar amount. And then what happens as that threshold keeps becoming lower and lower? Eventually, more of the people like me and you have to be the one to foot those bills for those programs that they're wanting those excessive tax rates for. If you don't believe me, then I want you to take a look at the Social Security program. Because when the Social Security program was passed, for every one person that was on it, there were 100 people that were paying into it. That's not true anymore. So now it's taking more and more of my money and your money to pay in because there's less people paying into it, more people that are collecting it, and now it's getting to the point where there's more people that are in the bucket or in the wagon than there are pushing it. And we've already basically been told, you know, those of us in the Gen X bracket, screw you, you don't need to retire, you can work till you die. You don't need Social Security. It's not going to be here for you anyway. So why am I still having to put my money in it when the government's basically already told me, well, we didn't know what we were doing with your money in the first place, but we still want it. Now we want more of it. I would much rather have the option, should I choose, to put that money in my mattress if I wanted to, or maybe invest it on my own to see if maybe I can build my own nest egg instead of all of these crazy different taxes that I have to pay for. But, you know, we've decided that as a society, we need our government to take care of our fellow man instead of actually doing what we've been commanded to do, which was to love our neighbor. Now, I try not to get preachy very often on the show, but this is one of the things that deserves it. Because when you're talking about an entire branch of our government basically turning against its own citizenry just to be able to shore up its own power base, we've lost track of loving our neighbor. When you are talking about an entire state that has made it possible for a child to be ripped from its mother's womb while they are in labor, should that mom suddenly decide that they don't want that child because they've got a hangnail, we've forgotten how to love our neighbor. When we have entire groups of people that are living on the streets that have fought and bled for this country, but we're worried about people that are fleeing from other countries that have other governments that are supposed to be taking care of them, then we have forgotten how to love our neighbor. Because in order to love our neighbor, we first have to be able to love ourselves. And if we were taking care of our own first, and we didn't have people sleeping on the streets, and we didn't have streets where there was human feces everywhere, and discarded needles everywhere, and homeless living on the streets, and people starving in our streets, then I wouldn't care if we were helping the people from Nicaragua, El Salvador, or wherever else, because they deserve our help too. But we have to take care of America first. And those are dirty words anymore, and I don't understand why. Because if we're not taking care of America first, we're not going to be here to help anybody else. We can argue the semantics all day long, every day, if that's what we choose to do. But the simple fact of the matter is, if we are not helping the people here at home first, then we're not going to be here to help the people abroad. And we used to understand that. And I don't understand why we no longer do. Because the Democrats seem to be chasing more votes. The Republicans seem to be chasing cheap labor, and we're stuck in the middle. And everybody's fighting over it, making it this big deal about how, well, we need this for labor. Or we need this because these people are suffering, and it's important. You don't understand how bad these people have it. Yeah, I do understand how bad they have it. But they have a government that has sworn a duty to take care of them. And if that government chooses not to do that, that's not my problem. But if my government here chooses to not take care of its citizenry, that is my problem, because that government works for me. And they're not doing what we've put them in power to do. And it's time that we look at it from that perspective. And I know we don't like to, because we don't like confrontation. We want things simple. We want to be able to put in our 8-hour day, come home, cook our dinner, usually in a microwave, sit down in front of our TV, watch our Netflix, and chill with the TV dinner, or whatever it is that you guys choose to do. And I understand that, because I do the same thing, or I did. You guys don't understand how easy it used to be for me to turn a blind eye, because I would do my work. I would come home. I would make sure my bills would get paid. And I would spend, a few minutes here and there with my family. And then I would sit in front of a computer and play video games all night. Because it was an escape for me. Because I didn't have to focus on all the things that were going wrong. I didn't have to focus on how out of control everything was getting in this country. Because in that video game world, it didn't matter how much I hurt. It didn't matter how well I could walk. It didn't matter about any of those things, because in that video game world, I could kick ass and take names. So it was an escape. But at the end of the day, I started looking at it, and I'm like, I'm spending all of this time playing in these imaginary worlds as an escape, and my own world is falling apart. I had a son that, unbeknownst to me, and this hit home pretty hard because I used to wear a badge and a gun, I had a son that, unbeknownst to me, because I was unplugging pretty much as soon as I walked in the door, had been smoking marijuana since he was 13 years old. My job was to catch people doing things like that, and I was really damn good at it. Somehow I missed the fact that my own son was doing it. My youngest, before we really got serious about turning things around in my family, was headed down the same path. And by no means am I saying I'm perfect, because I still spend a lot of time in front of a computer working on KLR and radio and shows and promoting shows for other people and producing shows for other people. And I tell you right now, my wife wishes I didn't do this as much as I do, because we have this argument all the time. But I keep trying to make her understand this is how I stay sane at this point. Because now I'm taking all of these creative energies that I used to push in a stupid direction. I mean, I'm not even kidding. Like, I used to play games like Grand Theft Auto, and by the end of the game, I'd have like $50 billion in the bank and everything that they owned, and I'm like, if only I could do this in real life. And then I got to thinking about it, I was like, why does the money really matter? If only I could actually be making a difference in real life. And then things like Facebook started getting my attention, because it was back when, Facebook, when it first came on, there was no political discussions. It was keeping in touch with friends and family. And then all of a sudden these little pages started popping up, and I started seeing all these people having political discussions. And I'm like, I kind of like that. At the time that I started one of ours, there was maybe 10, 15 other pages that I knew about. Now there's hundreds of them. And that doesn't mean that some of them weren't there all along. It's just I didn't know about them yet. And then eventually it turned into everything that we're doing now. But every single ounce of energy I put into this, at least I feel like I'm getting something back out of it, instead of I have all this fake money that I can't do anything with unless I'm hanging out in this virtual world. I can buy all these things that I can't ever touch, taste, see, or smell. But hey, my Abbies on this game are really, really rich, yo. It's pretty cool. But yeah, again, bit of a sidetrack, but not really, because we all do that in our own way. We find ways to unplug. We find ways to not have to pay attention. And that's what's been going on here. The Democrats and the Republicans have been counting on the fact that we're not paying attention. And they will keep us fighting with each other about certain issues. And while we're fighting over those issues, they will do things like this. Did anybody notice that this bill was being proposed right about the time that we were fighting over the shutdown? Did anybody else notice that? Because I did. Does that not terrify anybody else? I don't understand how it is that we could be, and this is case in point. They do this all the time. They get us looking at one hand, and then they do something else completely different while we're not paying attention. And it's really, really disturbing, if you ask me. All right, so we're going to take the last break of the show. This is America Off the Rails. We will be back to wrap things up here in just about 3 minutes, so stay tuned.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq, Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
right, folks. So I know I've thrown a lot at you tonight. Some of you right now are weeping, you're gnashing your teeth. Some of you are in a corner rocking back and forth wondering how the hell did we get here and what do we do about it. I don't want to leave you feeling that way, though, because I don't want you to lose hope. This is only one cycle. And yes, the pendulum has started swinging back the other way, but it could have been much, much worse. You know, the House being lost to the Democrats was basically a foregone conclusion, and the Republicans basically, they planned accordingly. I think they dropped the ball, and I'm going to be completely honest, because with what we've seen since Donald Trump was elected, the crying, the vandalism, the looting, the burning of cars, the screaming, the pajama days in colleges, the safe spaces, now the African American community talking about self-segregation, all of the craziness that we've seen since he's been elected was not capitalized on properly by any of the Republicans. And that's part of the issue that we have right now. It's no different, and I said this with Jen and Rick on Jen and Rick when we were talking about the shutdown, which I didn't really get to very much today because this show kind of went in another direction. That was in my notes, but you know, the funny thing about live radio is you plan all these notes and then suddenly you're talking and the next thing you know it goes in a completely different direction. But the thing that again, sorry for the language, but that really pissed me off when Donald Trump decided, you know, for the good of the American people, I'm going to reopen the government because we can't seem to get anything done. He had a chance to stand there and shine, because he'd already made the decision that, I'm sorry, in my opinion, was the wrong one, because once you started down that path, you had no choice but to see it through until the other side caved. Period. End of sentence, because you were the one that was standing on the right side of history in that instance, and you still caved. You chose that. You made that your hill to die on. You shouldn't have done that, and you shouldn't have done that if you weren't willing to climb it all the way to the top, and you stopped halfway there. Now, my problem with all of that is even seeing the fact that you went in front of the American people and you said, and you basically admitted this did not work. I was trying to bring them to the table. They weren't willing to do so. But you didn't say that. You didn't point out the number of times that the Republicans were trying to vote to get these people paid. You didn't talk about the number of times that you kept trying to get them to come back to the table to talk about the wall when the Customs and Border Patrol agents are the ones that are asking for the wall in that very particular segment of our border. And you, sir, had a chance to take this and make it your moment, because you could have looked at the American people and said, look, I told them up front, if they weren't willing to deal with me on border security, that I was willing to let the government shut down to make them understand how important it was to me to have this happen. And then when we realized the government was going to be shut down, my team, my side started putting together packages to make sure these people got paid, and they voted against them every single time. Why were you not driving that point home in front of those cameras? That's what I want to understand, because you have been the only person in my lifetime other than Reagan that has brought a gun to a knife fight, and you didn't use it. You've used it every other time, but you didn't now, and I want to know why. Because now you've put us in a position where you're going to basically, supposedly, the more right-leaning folks, you know, that are even further right than me, the more scarier right-leaning folks, I know that's not English, but it still works, are looking at me saying he's doing this to prove to the American people that the left is completely worthless because they're not going to get anything done in the next 2 weeks. Well, I understand that, but then that leaves him in one of two untenable positions. He either shuts the government down with a debt spending limit fight coming, or he uses emergency powers that are gonna open a Pandora's box for somebody else that is eventually going to get to occupy that office. And are we going to be happy when whoever that is decides to use that Pandora's box in a way that we don't agree with? Because that's what's going to happen. He's going to set a precedent, and it's going to be a very bad precedent. And I understand the fact that, you know, he was doing what he felt he had to do, and he was trying to make this now about a single point, but he could have done that the entire time. And what concerns me, and I've promised I wouldn't give any names, but I have been in contact with some people that run in the right circles in D.C., And I can tell you that Donald Trump has pretty much made an enemy of McConnell over this recent stuff, because they already had his word that he was going to pass that clean CR back in December. And he didn't, because of folks like Limbaugh and Coulter. And that's bad, because right now all of the infighting has been among the Democrats, at least out front. But apparently there's still plenty of infighting going on with the Republicans as well, most of which has to do with Donald Trump. All right, so tomorrow night we have a guest, so we're going to kind of be delving into a little bit more of these topics in detail. We're going to talk about the shutdown stuff, the Pelosi stunts, the Schumer stunts, State of the Union predictions, things like that. Chad Alexander from KOKC 1520 AM and 95.3 FM will be joining me for the hour tomorrow night after the FUBAR One Nation Under Fu show right here on America Off the Rails. So I want to encourage you guys to hang out for that. And then Thursday night, we're probably going to delve into a few other things that I have in my notes that I didn't get a chance to get to tonight. And other reasons why we should be absolutely terrified that there's now a Democratic majority in the House of Representatives, even though everybody kept telling me, it wouldn't be that big a deal. It's not going to be that bad. I don't know. It's pretty bad, but we'll talk about that in more detail Thursday night on the last episode for the week of America Off the Rails. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night. Don't forget to tune in for the morning update tomorrow morning. Usually we'll get posted about 5:50 right before God's Pure Word of Faith kicks off on KLRNradio.com. I am Rick Robinson. Just remember, in the words of Bill S. Preston Esquire, until I see you again, be excellent to each other. We'll see you guys tomorrow night.
It's in my heart, it's on my lips. I can't stop, no, I can't quit. It's in my heart, yeah, I'm on it. Till the wheels fall off, till the spotlight fades, I will lift your banner high. I will lift your banner high. Until the walls crash in. Don't.